Hello, beautiful friends. Thank you for being here once again, continuing our journey into more and more of you through the spiral of evolution that exists within you, that exists within this earth, and that exists within cosmos and all things. It's really fascinating. When we were in Peru a few weeks ago, I learned that the symbol for the earth and actually for Pachamama, which means the cosmic mother nature, not just the earth, is a spiral. And so that spiral is within us. And every day, think of this spiral like you see it here. The spiral actually, it's wide and goes up into a narrow point, but we will reverse it because we want to be in a spiral that is widening as we go higher and higher into our divine self. So it's pretty fascinating. So if you want, just feel how that spiral moves. It is always centered around the spinal cord, and it goes beyond the body and it goes into your own divine self. So this week we spoke about the mystery of this beautiful ascension tube within us and how it connects us to our divine self. And this is something that simply we every day practice the connection, practice. And, when the breakthrough comes, it's amazing. And we keep going because after the next breakthrough is already lined up for us. And so today we will do a little bit of meditation, but also a little bit of sharing and some of the energies that come through really all the stories I share here. To me, the energies, are really why we do what we do. It's not exactly the words, but it's the frequencies that come with the words, or behind the words, really even hidden, that activate our consciousness and then keep us going, keep us motivated to be the divine self, because there is so much more to us, of course, than the lower personality self. We are so lucky to be here right now on this changing planet. There is so much to be said about the nature of this reality. And, it's pretty puzzling. One of the things that I've learned about this reality from going to other realities and looking back down on this beautiful planet Earth, as she is a beautiful planet, is that the nature of time on this planet, it behaves very differently from the higher realms. And so when we are down here, it seems like our lifetime is, 70, 80 years, maybe more. But actually, when we look at it from a higher perspective, it really is just a few minutes at the most, not even 5 minutes. It seems super, super fast. And so it's good, Yogananda always said, don't take this experience down here too seriously. So remind yourself, don't take it too seriously, We are all dreaming, and so it's nice to be dreaming beautiful dreams. The way that our dreams became ugly is because we associated very much, all of us, I think, unless we are avatars, we associated with the lower human mind. Now, the lower human mind was not part of us little kids. And so Uncle Jesus says, if you guys want to be, entering the queendom of heaven, that we need to be like little kids. The reason for that is the lower human mind that the little kids don't have. So the little kids are in a higher state of being than what we become as adults. And then we use all the meditation techniques just to return to that beautiful divine mind. The divine mind is part of our structure, but it has to be self-realized. In a way, it has to be downloaded into this being. And so we are familiar with the lower human mind, the distorted human mind. And I always wonder, when did it come in? How old were we when suddenly it came in? And when we started to think in this distorted duality, which then becomes really part of our illusionary reality. And I think, once you go to school, right, you're still quite playful and innocent and clean. But then, when do you think? 10 years old at the most, right? Suddenly you don't see the world the same way anymore. But when we connect with our divine mind, the divine mind is part of our structure. And you could say that, of course, your lower human mind, it really sits in our first 3 chakras, where we are so descended and so separated from love, from the oneness. And so then we simply are recycling the energies of the first chakra, where we have identified with the body, and we believe, right? Most people believe that the body is super, super important, and actually it is not just something external, but it is who they are. So that's the first chakra. The mind, the second the chakra, sorry, the emotion, the feelings, the second chakra, and the mind is the third one. So when we go to the top of our being, we going through the elevator to the illuminated mind. We call it many different things. The mind of God, the divine mind. It is your source, unlimited, inexhaustible, blissful, really divine mind of your own divine self, that is your God self. So when we learn to go up, we learn to actually think outside the box of the lower human self. And so that's why it's so purposeful to be connecting through this pillar of light. Now, because we are beings of certain levels, and we have been part of this broken system here, meaning actually a broken electromagnetic field, then we are simply reconnecting something that already is us. When Divine Mother started to teach me, she was giving me information about things I really never heard of. Couldn't say that it ever, crossed my mind. And one thing she explained to me, which I found, and maybe you heard me say it, when she said, people think about the pyramids as some kind of initiation chambers, this or that. And she said, no, the pyramids, they were an attempt to fix the electromagnetic field, to restore the rainbow light, which is the electromagnetic field of the earth. And so they were built to really concentrate and emanate electromagnetic field all around the earth, so that the earth once again could have a rainbow body. Because when we are on a planet that is intact energetically, we too, when we are here embodied, become intact with her. So it's pretty amazing. So every day a little bit of effort will restore our being to move beyond the unnatural, and I mean the word unnatural, lower human mind. It became normal, and it became normal to all of us, I think, that we are constantly thinking that is very often out of control, and that the thinking determines how we feel. That is actually unnatural. The divine mind is not a thinking mind. The divine mind is actually a field of infinite creative possibilities that simply are inexhaustible. And so everything is available at the level of the divine mind, since the divine mind knows no limitations. No limitations. Imagine when the human being is restructured fully and completely, then they have full access to their God mind. The God mind operates completely differently from the lower human mind. And again, it reminds us of when we were little kids, because our channels were so open, and I mean the channels in our physical body. And so they were able to receive the inspiration, the joy, the playfulness, the ease, the really no worry and no fear. And like you would say, oh, I was scared of the dark when I was little, but that's very different. It's not about fearful thoughts of the future, right? So the little kid doesn't have fearful thoughts about the future. The kid also doesn't have regrets about the past. And so that is actually the divine mind. Now you can tell, right, that in this world we have physical bodies. And of course, all the mystics realize that the physical body has channels that very often are dormant, and not only the chakras as portals through which the energy comes down, but also energetic channels. And so the physical body that we are in it does play a very important role in receiving your own divine self. Certain level of openness is required. And that's why we have yoga, that's why we have Tai Chi, that's why we have Qigong, and that's why we use posture to be able to receive. I often used to mention a German healer. He was a miracle healer, Bruno Gröning. And I want to mention him again because Bruno, when he was a little kid, it was around World War II, I think, he ran into the woods and, being from some type of religious family, he said, God, reveal yourself to me. I want to see you. I want to know who you are. And then, of course, the cosmic Mother Nature responded. And it was her. And she revealed herself to him as cosmic Mother Nature. And so Bruno then had the miraculous ability, we would call it miraculous ability, to heal people. And he could heal crowds very selflessly. And what was his technique? Technique in German was called Einstellen, which means simply to align yourself. And so he would have people to align themselves. And how would they align themselves? Of course, to be in a receiving mode physically, to sit upright, to put their hands, with the palms up. They would sit in a very specific position. If anyone can put Bruno's last name, and you can watch some documentaries about Bruno, just to show that there is such thing as physical channels in the body that simply have to be situated the right way. They have to be aligned the right way to actually receive the fullness of your divine self. So let me put it in the chat. It's Bruno. Oh, thank you, Gurga. Thank you. So Bruno Gröning. Einstellen. Now, I met Bruno in higher realms. This is always so fun when you meet, I don't want to say people because we are not exactly people, but when you meet beings who were in a human body at some point and now they are working so selflessly still in higher realms. And guess what Bruno is doing in higher realms? When we as humans are still here in this world and we do have a physical body, and when we end up in higher realms, Bruno is activating the channels within us. And it's happening. I've seen it. So quite incredible. So opening the channels, of course, is important so that we can shift from the distortion into wholeness. And the difference is so huge. The distortion, of course, is in the way we think. It's the way we constantly think something about this world. And sometimes it's nice, sometimes not nice. Sometimes it's so random, most of the time random, right? And it's determined by all these belief systems that we have, that we developed out of, the socialization, culturalization. And so we have to know that there is something better within us. And it's not exactly in the physical body, but it's actually our divine self and through the channels. So yesterday, we talked about Sanya Roman and her wonderful work. And actually, about 150 of you will be working with us soon. We're doing the 6-day intensive where we will be receiving these transmissions from Orin. That's going to be so amazing, so incredible, so powerful, with such a huge crowd, right? In such a dedicated, intense way. And so we spoke about the work of Orin and Sanya. And I have all these downloads, on my iPhone. So when I travel, I just listen mainly to Orin, sometimes not, but mainly. And I came across a talk from Sanya, and she clearly, so beautifully explains all that we have been talking about, the divine mind versus the human lower mind, and how we can reconnect through the Rainbow Bridge. So I'm going to play this recording. It's from a workshop that Sanya and her husband Dwayne did. And let me just find it. I think it's this one. Okay, wonderful. So here's the talk by Sanaya. It's only 4 minutes. And as you listen, think about all the things we have talked about. Look at the picture of the divine self and just see how the pillar of light, and she even mentions what we talked about, Antakarana, the inner instrument, how that is absolutely our ascension tube. So here's Sanaya.
Okay, I wanted to talk for a few minutes before the next journey. The next journey that Orin's going to do is really a key process, and we will repeat it. And it's the process of building the rainbow bridge from the soul to the divine self. Now, all of you have been doing a lot of work with your soul over the years, over and over, connecting with your soul. And you've been building that bridge from your personality to your soul. And we have done a lot of journeys to the monad, the spirit, the higher self. We're going to do it more scientifically because this will is the light on the mind that does things concisely, with clarity, scientifically, step by step. And the light of the will that we're working with, the will to act, is that which brings the light to the rational, concrete mind that helps you see what steps to take in your daily life and in ordinary reality. The rainbow bridge, I'm sure you've all heard about it, technically called the Anakarana, is the bridge of light that we as a personality must build to get out of here. It said there's 7 streams. Well, when fully built, it provides a way out of incarnation by means of which the enlightened humans leave this plane. The will to act is called the will of liberation through ascension or death. The way we leave is either we die or we ascend. And it offers us the quality of illumination to take the next initiations and to liberate ourselves. So it's a very, very powerful quality of will. There's said that there's 7 streams of energy that must be built on the rainbow bridge, 1 for each quality of divine will. This is the will that unites the 3 minds, the divine mind, and I call that the mind of the all that is, the infinite mind, universal mind, divine mind, with our higher mind, which is really the blueprint upon which our rational mind is built, just like we have an etheric body that's the blueprint of our physical body. And when you worked on that, the lines of light and connecting them with your mental body, that was working with your higher mind and linking it to your rational mind. So we've done some of the downward flow. Now we're going to take more of our consciousness up and build the upward flow. And we're going to do it with the thought of the 3 minds unite and the energy of the will to act with us. So we'll build that strand on the 5th ray. And I've been doing this over and over for months now, and the amount of consciousness that comes back is unbelievable. It's almost sometimes it'll be hours later, and I'll just have these insights that will start unfolding. Usually, when you're doing something that you're not even prepared for, like waking up in the morning or taking a shower, or it can happen right as you do it. You can feel this immense energy come back. Usually has a feeling of a shift with it. One thing I noticed the more I did this was how many light body skills I found I was able to use. And you might find just spontaneously you're holding multiple perspectives, or you're out in your beginning self-exciting. And if you get too far self-exciting, it's hard to hold on to the rational mind. But some of the beginning self-exciting states, some of the expanding consciousness states, a lot of what we're doing today, I call the Orin's building consciousness. What we just did with the illumination and the soul, what we're going to do in the next 2 journeys are processes to bring more consciousness to us, to reorder our mental substance of our mental body. This is the work that must be done by the personality. The soul can't do it for us, neither can the divine self. It's our work to become the soul in incarnation and then have a direct link to our divine self. This is one analogy I like is this bridge to our divine self is like the spider that has to send the web out and then walk across it. We have to send those strands of consciousness either up or out, however you want, to the divine self, and then we travel across that strand to claim the consciousness of the divine self as ours.
And so this is what we have been doing here, right? The difference between the soul and the divine self, building the bridge from the personality that we are or have up to the soul, which is what Yogananda taught us in those 4 steps. And then moving even beyond the soul. It's 4 steps with Yogananda. Where do we go? We go into the divine self. We go into the spirit. If we can every day realize who we truly are, we have different consciousness, different tools to operate in this so-called fallen world. So I saw many questions about the upcoming intensive. So we will be meeting every day, and I'm offering 2 different times to meet just for the different time zones, and also when we are busy, of course. We will meet at the typical 11 a.m. Pacific, which is where we always anyway have Green Tara Zoom calls, and again at 5 p.m. Pacific. Again, the typical time when we do Green Tara Zoom calls. So each call every day will be about 90 minutes. It means that first I will do some teaching, and we will do one journey from this course. Every single one of you should have the course, and if you haven't received it, you will receive it. We are working with the foundation, Orin and with Greg, the wonderful admin, who's so incredibly helpful. And so he's making the downloads available to everyone who didn't have them. And so again, 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. every day. So let's say the first day we meet on Friday and we're gonna do the call at 11 a.m. It will be exactly the same at 5 p.m. You are always welcome to join both or just one. For me, this is like a retreat. And so that means a lot of focus, a lot of energy, a lot of changes, big transformation. The reason why I wanted to really work with Increase Your Inner Light is because I've seen massive changes in my own world, in my own consciousness over the years as I worked with this. The way that I was always working with every album that I got or every course with Orin, I would always do one journey 7 times and then see the changes. And so if you can participate twice, you can, but of course you will have the course, so you have the course. And so you can always do it on your own in your own time. The only difference about doing it together, of course, is the group and also the teaching that definitely comes from a lot of experience with this. What will be recorded? What we will record is, of course, the teaching part, but not the Orin part, because everyone will have the course or has the course. And so also, everybody can listen to it from the course that they have, from the downloads they receive from Orin and Deben. So, did that answer all the questions? Would it be helpful to do the meditations before the course? Of course. To me, these are not just visualizations, as I always say. These are absolutely transformational tools that open you up to the highest levels of your own being. I remember when I didn't know my own divine self. I remember my life then. The difference, it's just like when you compare it to technology, having some really, really old computer, one of the first ones, they didn't have any programs. All you could see is black screen with some white, numbers on it. That's it. And now having these incredible computers, where you have access to so much more. So to me, that's the absolutely the difference. So, to honor the way that the foundation is now working with us is obviously people have to register, and it's a paid course, paid work. And so that's how it is available to those who have registered. I teach so much anyway, right? And so also Orin has all the tools and all the teachings I normally do. Everything is available on YouTube. I always, when I record it, I post it. So I would call it freely given. So working with Orin, it's not my material, but it's something that I truly believe in, leads to these higher states of consciousness. So the difference, when I remember how I viewed the world and how the world is completely different now, because what changes, of course, there has to be a transformation of your consciousness, right? The transformation has to transform from the old self, who believed that there was some kind of past, who thought, I had family members, who thought that these parents are real, who thought the past really happened. That was like, the stories. But now there's this new self, the new you. And the new you doesn't think like that at all, because first of all, the new you doesn't think. It is pure divine thought. It doesn't have individual, just stupid thoughts. It just is all that is. And it is existing right now as the top of your structure. And it has complete just bliss. It doesn't have any concerns. It's not concerned even with actually you and me down here, because it is one with God. It's pretty amazing. So I wanted to share a little bit today as transmissions, some profound experiences with the divine. I find them always to be timeless. And the more you repeat a divine experience that actually, is very authentic, the more it builds in energy. And so I like storytelling. I don't always write down all my experiences, and not always in the most eloquent way. But recently I've had some really beautiful, powerful experiences with the divine. And one of them actually happened last year in August on 8/8. And it was an experience that I hope changes all of us because of the profound message that Divine Father actually shared and what he showed. I want to say me, but I don't want to call it me. It gives us directions. Sorry, my internet is going in and out. Tell me when the sound is back. Is it back? Okay, sorry, there's something wrong with the internet here. Wonderful. So I only took a few notes, after this happened. And to put it into perspective, you've heard the story maybe, but it is the one about the God essence. So every day is a wonderful solar opportunity here to think just one thing, to ask one question. Am I filled 100% with God essence? And you see this picture, my new favorite, says it all. The God essence is fully available completely to all of us in every single moment. In the past, maybe you heard people say, in the present moment, everything is perfect. I personally never thought that that's true, because in the present moment, if someone's suffering, that present moment is suffering. Until I realized that when we connect to the divine self, and we truly have the divine self flooding us with this milky white substance, this amrita coming down through the elevator, through the pipe, when it truly flows, yes, when it truly flows, it is milky, it is white, and it is something that you see around yourself. It surrounds you, it moves through you. Yogananda, when he connected to God, when he had questions, it always was visible around him. He said the white light, but the mystics describe it similar, the same way. So when this milky white substance fully flows through us, we are 100% filled with this God essence. When we are filled with God essence only to, let's say, 75%, that also means that 25% of our consciousness is actually unconsciousness. And so the reason every day to ask the one most important question is that if we find our being to be only filled to 80%, 90%, then we have work to do. And it's not hard, but it's a shift to pop open and to do something that you love. That's always the key. Do something that you love. It doesn't have to be anything difficult. And that which you love doing will fill you up with more God essence. The way that it works is that love is actually an opening force within us. So that's why love is so important. I have a quote here from Lahiri Mahasaya, who is part of Yogananda's lineage. He was the guru of his guru. And he said, "One should do what comes easily and without strain." And to me, that's what it is. If you feel like chanting Om, you chant Om. If you feel like doing mantra, you'll do mantra. If you feel like kissing the earth, building an earth altar, you'll do that. And then your God essence can flow better. We also in psychology have so-called a flow state. And the flow state, you know, if you're familiar with it, to me is just describing when I'm doing something I love, more of God essence is flowing through me. Centering your consciousness in the consciousness of your divine self is really the key. Again, it's all about flowing, and then it flows through the body, and then it makes you feel joyful and you feel more in love. And when you feel more in love, you know, it only gets better. And so I'm going to share the few notes I took when this experience happened. This happened exactly on 8/8 in 2023. And so I called this experience I Am That I Am, because that's what I kept hearing. I was at home alone and I really wanted to travel with my husband, but it didn't work out. So I was just alone. And our dogs got into a fight with a skunk. And it was really smelly. And I think this is a big part of the story. I simply absolutely could not sleep. There was no way I could sleep. And so I was just laying in bed and I was doing all my yogic practices and I was just doing the breathing through the spine. And I was focusing on the third eye, the way that actually we do in Kriya Yoga, completely withdrawing into the spine, getting away from the senses because my senses felt overwhelmed, you know. And so I took these notes after. I came out of body and I knew that it was going to be a very important night for our ascension process. I was in a dimension that did not look like the surface of the earth, but it felt more like a cave somewhere in a different dimension. And I saw that there were many of us that night on 8/8. I found myself laying on my back, close to the ground. The light of God was shining through my entire being, but mainly my chest. I could see it. I was emanating golden light from my chest as I was laying on the ground. Suddenly, a demon, a fallen human man, jumped on my chest and sat down on my shining chest. His skin was completely white. I knew exactly who this being was. It was a demon that actually was a fallen human being. He looked dead. He had strange openings along his spine, like a fish with fish gills or some kind of amphibian. His lips were colored with blood. Not very nice. He sat on my chest, and I understood that I just needed to shine the light of God into the world, not focusing on this demon, and that I simply needed to stay centered in the light of God and have no fear. And so I just laid there, shining the light of God, focusing on nothing else, completely fearlessly. This man was a fallen one, a brother who lost his light and lost his life force. That's why he looked completely white, dead. I heard my inner, I'm trying to read my own writing. I heard my inner voice speak words. Love all life free. Love the fallen ones into freedom. But it didn't require any effort. I didn't focus at all. I simply was focused on who I am as love. Suddenly, my nervous system in my physical body, which was laying in our bed, called me back into my physical body. I snapped right back in. I laid in bed and I was trying to feel the energy around me. I cannot read my handwriting again, which is fine. I chanted Om and I stopped my mind from all thoughts. I kept chanting Om and suddenly I came out of body again. I felt this night was a massive breakthrough for the earth, 8-8, and all of her life. Humanity was being up-leveled. 8-8, 2023 was a tipping point. I saw a group of tetrahedrons. Many of you are familiar with tetrahedrons, the pyramid shape. And each tetrahedron represented a person in this world. And together they could create a shape so perfect that it looked like a sphere. And this is so funny because when you worked with the tetrahedrons with Orin, you know, the tetrahedrons create a sphere in the end, like a dome. And so I could see how each one of us is part of the dome, the sphere. I was surprised to see that some tetrahedrons actually formed the core of the sphere. And then the others, they had different qualities and they became the surface. But again, each tetrahedron representing a person, the collective of the family of humanity. I felt that humanity was being initiated and invited to create a collective, to eventually form the sphere of tetrahedrons. God filled all space around me all of a sudden. I cried. I couldn't stop crying because the entire bedroom was completely filled with milky white substance of God, and I knew this was the Father. I cried so much out of happiness. God was unmistakable. God was like a field of bright white light that is in all things and all people as an evolutionary potential. Now this to me, I'm so glad I wrote it all down. I wrote it the next day. So God was like a field of bright white light that is in all things and all people as an evolutionary potential. Now God could speak to me as if God was personal, but also completely transcendent. I was communicating with this field of divine consciousness. And I saw some forms of God. I saw Shiva. I saw Shiva as an emanation of God, but I also saw Jesus as an emanation of Shiva. I could see how Jesus came from Shiva, and they were one being and yet two at the same time. God kept flooding me with love of cosmic intensity. Even though I was really not, even though I was out of body, I kept crying as if I was in the body. I was so moved by the love of God and by the goodness and tenderness and gentleness of God. I heard God speak about Satan, but I don't recall what he said. All I could feel was some kind of acceptance of the being that we call Satan. God made me feel such fullness. I could very intensely feel my God essence in all of me. I felt as if I was a vessel of God's essence and that I was filled fully. God told me that this was the goal and also the key, to be filled completely with the essence of God. Now I could see the essence. So it made it so easy for me and natural to completely fill up. It was all around me. It was like someone spilled milk in the ethers. I was too excited because it brings the memory so back. I was experiencing the fullness of God in me, but also in everyone else in this world. Again, I was so moved by the sweet uniqueness of each one of us. I felt every single person in the world. God helped me see everyone. I felt everyone's unique gift. The feeling was so moving. My joy was so emotional. I could not stop my tears of joy, love, and adoration from flooding my out-of-body face. God wanted to improve my understanding of self-realization. I was shown two older women eating in a restaurant, and they were specifically eating meat, which I don't eat. I was surprised that they ate meat, and yet they were filled with God essence. God explains to me that what truly matters is God essence above all else. It did not mean that eating meat was good as such, but it also was not bad if the person was completely filled with God essence. Now, this is an interesting thing because, I've been vegan, vegetarian for so many years, and I I put emphasis on it, and yet I could see that what really mattered was not exactly what we eat, but exactly how we fill up with God essence. So God shared that when God essence fills a person, all else becomes secondary. Following rules alone does not guarantee God. Following rules alone does not guarantee God realization. But God realization is above all, and God essence is the key. Suddenly I saw a group of us, and a group of us were taken through a process of crucifixion. Now, this was very interesting, and it might sound weird, but that's when I actually realized that crucifixion is not exactly the story that we are told, even though it's a very important story, but that crucifixion in these spiritual realms is actually a massive upgrade without any pain, without hanging on the cross, but it's an alignment, and it's an alignment that is vertical and horizontal, and that gives birth to the person's light body, just like the story of Jesus. So a group of us were taken through a process of crucifixion. It was not a cross with nails. Crucifixion was an internal process that aligned the old self, released the false self in a crucified way, again without any suffering. As the crucifixion was completed, all of us got to fully embody our divine self. This was absolutely incredible. This was for me another reason to weep. Oh my gosh. And that's the whole experience. And when we when we experience something like this, for me it's always collective. And so I always see many human beings participated in the higher realms in these experiences. And so that alone, taught me so much about how to live, and how every day, and do I wake up every day 100% filled with God essence? No, absolutely. This world is still here, right? But every morning, just ask yourself the one and only one important question, and that is, am I filled? And if you find, like me often, that it's not 100%, that I'm still having some human thoughts, then it's about shifting into your own divine self. And again, whatever tool helps you, just take that tool. So I will share the tool again that we've used. We'll just have a little meditation, like 4 minutes. We'll use one of the free tools on Orin and Sanya in the free meditation room to fill with God essence. And these tools, again, you find in the free meditation room. They can be 4 minutes. It doesn't matter how long, as long as they fill you up. It could be going outside. You know, I always share my morning practice. For me, the morning practice is the key. And the key, of course, it's energetic. It's because when the sun rises, it always brings new codes. It brings new codes for our consciousness. And when we step up on the earth, she gives us her new magnetism. And you know her magnetism is changing. And so let us have the amazing intention. And the amazing intention is that all of us, all at once, fill up to the brim with God essence. I actually have a picture here, which I created, not created exactly, but which I found and then put here with a little quote. Because that is being filled with God essence. My cup runneth over. And again, you know, singing a song, you know, giving a hug to your loved one, you know, whatever it is, playing with your animals, kids, grandkids, who knows what it is for you. And so from the Orin's meditation room, the one that really can fill us up with God essence, of course, many of them, one of them, the simple one, is receiving solar light. As you know, solar light is not only the sun, our physical sun, but now we are working with all the non-physical, and actually I would still call them physical suns, but maybe we don't really see them, and that is receiving solar light. And so let us receive the solar light all the way from the grand central sun. And it's like a 3-minute meditation.
Receiving solar light. Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe in, imagine you are becoming very centered, bringing all of your energy together at a deep level. Feel yourself very aware, very centered, very balanced. And feel how relaxed you are, letting yourself grow more serene and more relaxed just by thinking of it. Call upon that part of yourself that is very wise, the part that knows how to sense the subtle energies of light. Think of the solar light, a great light of love and beauty, the soul of the sun, the light of higher purpose. Imagine that this light is shining down upon you. And with each breath in, you are breathing in solar light, bringing a higher, finer light into your mind, emotions, and body. Picture the rest of today and see this light shining down upon a path in front of you, creating a path of light leading to your highest future. Step upon this path, walking into the light. Picture that at every moment you are becoming a more perfect and radiant light. Perfect in every moment. You are surrounded by the light of love higher purpose, and oneness. Feel this magnificent light all around you, knowing that as you move throughout your day, you will easily and automatically make those choices that put you on a path of more light, on your path of evolving into a more radiant, beautiful light.
And so it is. It doesn't take much to fill up with God essence. One of the things I always recommend is embodying the full archetype within you. The Fool is actually the archetype of Christ. The Fool is the archetype also known in yogic traditions as Dattatreya. And so that means laughing as much as you can, back to the childlike nature, with all the experiences we have in this world. Laughter is really important. And the laughter, when it comes from the depth of your own divine self, is a very different laughter, because we laugh at the illusion of the old self. We laugh at the illusion in this world. And even if it hurts, laughter is a really great answer. And that means you see through it, and all you can do is laugh, and sometimes even cry about it, but laughter is always recommended. So thank you so much. We will repeat today at 5 p.m. And then what is tomorrow? Tomorrow is Saturday. We'll meet tomorrow again if you feel like it, and we will be going deeply into the teachings of Yogananda and cracking the code even deeper and farther. So thank you so much, and many blessings.